Oh, hello.
Hello. How are you, Rainy?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah,
It's daytime in the
you look very
UK.
vibrant today. All colorful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have sunshine for a change.
That's good. Where are
I'm
you
very
in the
happy.
UK?
Yes. The weather
Awesome.
is good in the last
Awesome.
couple of
So
days.
welcome.
Thank
Thank you for agreeing
thank you.
to join me in this hard talk. And tonight we'll be looking forward to meet our friends on LinkedIn to join us in our conversation, meaning and purpose at work, especially. All right.
Yes.
So, for any of our friends who are already tuning in today, please say hello and share with us your name, where are you dialing from, and how are you feeling today? All right.
Let us
So,
know where you're joining us from.
I know you've done many talks as well, and giving a lot of speeches as well. Right. So this is nothing new for you.
Well, I'm always nervous, Rainy. I'm only human. It's
Well,
so nice to connect with you in Singapore. It's such a joy and such an honor. And thank you so much for allowing some of the wisdom, I guess, to seep into the other parts of the world as well. That
yeah, I believe there is a lot to learn from everyone's story because the story is from the life experience, right? So that is not something that money can buy. And
absolutely not.
if we can listen to more story and learn from that, it can help us to prevent making mistakes, unnecessary mistakes,
Exactly.
right?
And save us a lot of time and connect us with others as well.
So share with us tonight. What are we going to do?
Ha! Well, that was going to be my question. No,
Okay, that should be my questions, right?
look, really, we want to invite people's questions, of course, and we'll start with a bit of a narrative, and how I ended up on my journey. Perhaps might be helpful for some people to hear and resonate and understand where on the journey they might be and how it might end up. Because when we're on the journey, I don't think we know the past, but we cannot see forward, right? And that's quite a stressful situation to be in because we don't know how our story will end. It doesn't end, but how it will evolve. And I think hopefully we can share some of our stories, our experiences, our clients' experiences, anonymously, of course, and kind of be able to create the pattern, so that people can start recognizing the stages, because the stages are similar in many ways. It's our very personal story that's entwined and weaved into it. But hopefully we'll be able to leave everyone with hope of what to anticipate and what to look forward to on this journey of meaning and purpose at work.
Awesome. So tonight, allow me to introduce my co-host for the evening, Christina Garidi. I'm very honored and very pleasure to have you tonight. Christina is specializing in coaching for purpose, and she's also a career coach, one that is very passionate with what she does. I think many of us are driven by our calling, our purpose, and which is why we are going to talk on a deeper level about this tonight. And I still remember we met it's about 3 years ago, right, in Singapore?
Is it 3 years already?
Yeah, I think it's been 3 years already. So
Three to 4 years ago. Yes, it must be
yeah,
already.
and what where were you at that point in your life? Because I know I was in the transition point. I was transitioning from my job into creating my own full-time coaching business. What about you back then?
Yeah, so I think I was at a stage where when I was a coach already with Eudaimonia Coaching. So I have started my business. That was my first business. So a bit of a bumpy road, shall we say? So I have transitioned 3 years before.
So 3 years
Um,
before, you were already on the path for
yeah,
how long?
yeah, on the path. So, and let's admit, right? I mean, it was 2020, it was 2014 when I left my job and I went into an 18-month dark space, right? Where I
After
didn't
you
know
left your job,
exactly. I didn't have
18
a
months.
plan B. So I really didn't have a plan B back then. But I really took the what is my purpose question really seriously. And it was it was devastating. It was, completely humbling. That journey. I really lost myself, my sense of self, everything along the way that I knew of me. And that was important, that was necessary. And then I rebuilt it up. And I guess that journey was so defining for me.
I'm curious, what made you lose yourself back then? Because
Because
I remember you mentioned that you had a very thriving, successful career back then.
Yeah, well, back then, yes, and I was so lucky to transition from environmental sciences that I've studied into business, and I discovered I love business. I had business acumen. I really enjoyed improving things and so on. So I naturally ended up being a consultant, which I served the industry for about 8 years and 2 years contracting as well in the transition while I was building my business. But I think at some point I realized, and we were having a little bit of a chit chat before, that it was a dead end for me. So it was a good career to have. It was pretty lucrative. It was, a lot of status, a lot of, kind of being at my specialization was turning around difficult clients and doing digital transformations. Um, I was very concerned back then about the karma of letting departments, go because we were automating processes. Therefore, that meant we were making savings for the organizations that we were working for by letting people go. So I wasn't very proud of that. And I think the turning point for me, and I share that on my TED talk, is when a friend of mine asked me, "Are you proud of what you're doing?" And that was really a turning point for me because I was like, yes, my managers are, really lovely. They're, really helping me. They're giving me bonuses. Everything was going well. But inside, it wasn't feeling that way. It was a very weird feeling of misalignment. Now I know it's called misalignment, but then I was feeling empty, but everything on the outside was perfect. I was successful on the outside. And that question from my friend really changed my perspective. I was like, that's it. I'm not
Are you
proud of
proud
what
about
I'm
what you
doing.
do? That's
And
amazing.
that's when everything changed. I started finding the negative in everything I did at work. I was like, there's no meaning in what I do. I at least I couldn't attach a meaning that was worthwhile for me to be doing. And then that's how I guess I ended up quitting because it wasn't something that was meaningful to me. So that's how I started my journey of going into looking for purpose, of course, and having that humbling journey where you lose yourself. Because what I was before, status driven, career driven, ambitious, young, intelligent consultant who knew the answers. And, I felt I had to know all the answers. I felt I had to be able to deliver and succeed in what I was doing. And suddenly the journey turned around. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was here to do. I didn't have a calling. I felt lost.
So
So
I think that brought up to the questions of meaning, right? Why is finding meaning in your work important? And by the way, allow me to welcome our friend tonight. Axel is in the house. Hello, Axel. Thanks for joining us. Do engage with us. If you have any question, any comment, feel free to share with us. All right. Okay. So today's question is about, where was it?
Why is it
Finding meaning.
important, right?
Right.
To
Why
find meaning.
is finding meaning in your work important? So for me, right, I all my life I was searching for purpose, meaning, but back then there was no one teaching me how to go about it. Like I have no clue and whatsoever. So it to me I find that not having that someone that can guide me to create meaning and finding meaning in my work, I think that is such a waste of my lifetime. So what about for you, what helps you to be able to finally find meaning in your work? So you lost meaning in your corporate job, and then you went into your dark moments, and trying to find yourself again.
Yeah.
So how was it for you?
Whew. Well, I can only speak from my experience, but I'm sure there's going to be some similarities, I think, in terms of, how people feel when they lose meaning. And of course, the moment they come to realize that it's meaning that they're looking for, purpose that they're looking for their calling. So for me, to answer your question, I felt so empty and it felt wrong. And the difference was not because I was happy before. It was that horrible thing of I've never been happy really before in my life, in my, work, at least in my work life, but I don't know whether I'll ever going to be happy. But definitely I knew what I was feeling. That emptiness was not the right thing, was not the right feeling for me. It wasn't meant to be like that. And you start looking, and that's a good trap. You start looking, what do I enjoy doing? Cooking, traveling, being with friends. These are the immediate answers that people come up with, right? And um, that's one of the myths that we're going to discuss about. We start going into interests and hobbies and passions and so on. And this is a good start to start reconnecting with the feeling we're looking, because meaning is not there, but it's not the solution. And what really helped me, and like you, I didn't have guidance. I didn't know how to navigate this transition in my life. I didn't know how to navigate this crisis I was going through. And I think a lot of people call it midlife crisis or early 30, crisis and so on. We all go through it, but nobody prepares us for it, right? No, nobody says anything. It's a shameful thing we keep under in our closet, and we never reveal it to anyone at work, and we have no seniors to go to, no mentors to go to.
Oh, did I lost?
2013. Can you hear me now?
Okay, for a moment just I lost you.
Sorry about that. So that's the UK and not good internet, no? For me, the difference was I was so frustrated around 2013 with my life. And obviously, that was going on for quite some time before I got to the point of desperation and frustration that I had to quit. I picked up coaching. I decided out of the blue, I'm going to do coaching because that would help my clients. I had a lot of difficult clients to turn around and bring into new solutions at work. That coaching was really helping me navigate a difficult psychological terrain, change management, organizational development, all of that. So through coaching, through learning coaching, I was getting coached as well. And I discovered the industry of coaching by accident, entirely by accident. And through getting coached, the amount of tears, first of all, that came up, which was insane because there was so much sorrow and mourning about what I was losing and what I have lost, I felt, which was myself. And then those moments where you can actually think for yourself. Coaching has given me the ability to reflect on what the hell is going on in my life. Why does it not feel great? What is really that I'm looking for? And those honesty pockets in my life were the ones that started moving me forward and made me realize that this career was not the right one for me.
So
As
what I hear
difficult
from you is that it's important to be honest with yourself, right?
Entirely. There's no other way. Honesty is the most important thing because it's amazing how much we lie to ourselves. We lie to ourselves every single day. And um, that's a big topic for another talk, perhaps. But those moments of honesty and integrity can make a huge difference in how we make decisions. And of
Yeah,
course, career is a huge decision
right.
we make.
Because
It's a
in this
choice.
point, in this point, you actually reminded me of people who are actually working very hard, and yet they are still stuck in the job despite they don't feel that the work is meaningful for them. In fact, recently there was like a few days back, my client was just texting me like he has been working like every day 14 hours a day, and then every weekday, yeah, just like you, right? And he said, actually, I don't mind if I enjoy the work, if it's interesting, but I don't like this the work that I'm doing. It feels meaningless, and yet I have to spend long hours in it. So he was frustrated, but yet he's still in the job.
Yeah.
So the internally there is already a conflict that says that this is not right for me, and yet there must be something that keeps them going and and staying stuck in the job.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And these are the little moments of seeing ourselves in the mirror, and we don't actually see ourselves in the mirror. And we have forgotten how it felt to be joyful. Or in my case, I never really felt I had meaning at work. So I didn't know what I'm supposed to feel. So
Right,
I was going blind, looking for something that I never felt before. But up until that point, I didn't have the realization of not having,
right,
of having meaning at work, let alone
right.
not having meaning at work. And when I became aware of it, then it was like, oh my God, but I never had meaning at work. And that didn't bother me before, but the impact now is huge. And the
So
impact was,
so
right.
it's like before. So can I just check that before all your life when you're working, you don't really feel that it's meaningful, but yet you're still
And it
doing it.
didn't bother me until
So
that
it's,
point.
yeah, because it's like we don't know what we don't know, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And then now that you found meaning at work, you notice that, oh my gosh, the difference is so huge that you would never want to go back to the time that you're doing meaningless work anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
want to ask the audience as well, right? So like we have Excel and Angie, and those of you who
Lovely.
haven't say hello, share with us if you're dialing in. So why is finding meaning important? Finding meaning in your work important for you? So for me, I find that it's important to have meaning in my work because it makes me feel like life is worth going, because otherwise, right, if it doesn't have meaning, I just feel that every day is just going through the motion, and I feel that life is so precious that we shouldn't be just going through the motion. Every day that we are given is a gift. In fact, my boyfriend's friend just passed away today out of the blue, that they just had a conversation with him a few days back, planning for a hiking after the COVID is over. And suddenly the person just passed away. And
Wow.
it's a shock because we never know when is our timeline is due. So that's quite sad.
Yeah.
All right, what about you, Christina? Why is finding meaning in your work important for you?
I think you're spot on, Rainy. It's our life is precious. Our life is we are here to fulfill our purpose. I fundamentally believe that, and it's not just me saying this. I think the reason why people come to me, come to other coaches, go on spiritual journeys, let alone do illogical things, is when we become aware that there's more to life than just work, family, bigger car, bigger house, looking good. Um, then there's a whole different dimension, shall we say, of really finding ourselves as a channel to be able to enable others on our journey too. um, and ultimately it comes down to significance, right? It comes down to sense making of our life. So work is a wonderful way to express ourselves. work is not just to pay the bills or make us money, right? This is important. We live in a system where we have to do that, and but I see so many clients where they associate their title, their money, their status with their self-worth. And when that changes, they feel devastated. They are really, depressed and, really low. And okay, everybody goes through that. I've been there as well. Yeah. So I'm not saying that criticizing is more about, and then you realize that it can't be like this. It cannot be that this is what can define me as a person. Actually, there's more to me. And it's a lifetime journey. I'm here for a reason. And of course, many people might find the religious narrative relevant here, a family narrative here, the love narrative here. But I believe that the work we're here to do to improve somebody else's life, coming from a place of service, is an important part of the narrative. And once we wake up to this narrative, to the story that we can start weaving for ourselves, where it's not related to the company we work, to the brand that we work for, to the position that we have, to the money that we make, to the status that we have, to the amount of clients that we have. Once you remove all of that, what remains is why you're doing what you're doing, and then what within you lights up when you're doing that. It's so simple, yet such a big and difficult question. But when you find that, nothing can remove your self-worth. Nobody can take it away from you, because it doesn't matter what company you go to, it doesn't matter what industry you work in. Your purpose, you'll be able to express it, whichever circumstance you may be given. And it's a wonderful thing, an important thing, to find meaning and purpose in your heart, in your life, in your work, whatever work that means. Because once you have it, it's irrelevant. You may be on the moon, just
Right.
to exaggerate,
Yeah.
but you will still feel on purpose.
Right. And I think you say something that is very important, that, for a lot of people, they attach their self-worth, their value onto external qualities like their job title or the amount of money that they have, or where do they live, the kind of apartments that they live. So all
Mhm.
those are external. So the moment that is gone, is taken away from them, then they feel that they have nothing. And in fact, that makes them feel like they have lost their identity as well. And that's what crushed people, right? But when we are able to go back to internal, our inner self, and have that, attach that self-worth with our inner self, then no one can take that away from us. I think that is really powerful. And
Exactly.
okay, that brings us to our next question that we want to debunk about this one. So,
Mm.
what are the most common confusion or myths about purpose and meaning? So, for all of our guests tonight here, feel free
Yeah.
to share with us, what do you think about all these things, because we would love to learn from you as well. It's not just about us, but we want to learn together with you. All right.
Yeah.
So,
So,
Christina, what do you think are some of the most common confusion or the myths about purpose that and meaning that you have heard of?
yeah. So we already started talking about one just before, which is people think that, we've got a company or an industry or a job title that is our purpose. So I'm going to, make a simple examples here. I'm here to be a nurse, or I'm here to be a doctor. I mean, it's a wonderful purpose to have, but it's not. For the simple reason why industries change, and along history we've seen industries change. And I'm going to bring a very close to my country example, like when sword craftsmanship was stopped after the samurai era in Japan. Then obviously all these people who were making amazing swords found themselves out of work, right? So it wasn't the sword that they were making that was their purpose. It was something bigger, something much bigger. So little things like that, can really dislocate us. And I think most people confuse purpose and meaning with a job title or an industry or a role in society, because doctors and lawyers and all of that are part of. But for example, let's go back to some of the common roles that we can all relate to. Doctors, they're there to save lives, right? And they have a speciality that they like to see in order to bring joy to themselves. They're problem solving. They're actually helping people reclaim their dignity, their self-worth, in terms of health. It's a life-threatening situation, and they're helping people reconnect to life. They bring them back to life. So there's something bigger that people are really lit up to do. And this is that. Like lawyers, yeah, I mean, obviously it goes with a big salary, a big purse and all of that, and a lot of status. But actually most of the people who end up studying law, let alone going into law, mainly what they're looking for is justice. They want to serve people who have been injustice by the system or by other people. And there's a strong narrative and a strong purpose within them. It's not the title, it's not what you end up doing that matters, it's what drives you from within. So pay focus on not how it's expressed, but what really lights you up.
I
Another.
think there's another one that I remember.
Hmm.
It's like people think that having a purpose, it's got to be something really huge, right? So they got confused because they feel that I'm just a nobody, right? Who am I to have a purpose, right? Having purpose or meaning in life is like reserved to those people who are very special, very talented people, or even like the priests, religious people on
Yeah.
a mission. So because of that, it's kind of like makes people feel that they're not even worthy to have their purpose or meaning in life as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great one, actually, Rainy, because um, a lot of people feel that they need to have this unique, big, huge mission and make history. That's not what purpose is about. Purpose is about knowing and being able to reconnect to our heart when we need to in order to go through difficulty. And we'll explain a little bit more of that later. But every human being is here and they go through difficulty, adversity. And purpose is not about, okay, when there's a huge mission like Martin Luther King and so on, but his mission, he was a nobody before. And then his mission connected him to all the others who had a similar mission. So it's not something that's entirely so unique, or it's a connecting point for us to be able to connect to something that's meaningful. That's why we say meaning, right? If it is meaningful to me, there is a chance it's meaningful to you and to someone else. And then if that connects us, we can make a ripple. It's not about me doing something on my own, it's about us together being able to impact. And that's the other thing, that it doesn't have to be great we don't have to be great. It's not about us, it's about the impact we are able to create. And sometimes impact will take years, like generational changes, education, rights. But also it might be small, like raise good children, for the
Right.
society.
Those are the simple ones
Not to be
that
dismissed, they're not
just
small.
revolve around you. Yeah. And that
Raising
can
a
be a
human
purpose.
being is a huge mission in itself, not to be disrespected or diminished in any way. And if it's meaningful to us, nobody is there to judge
Right.
apart from
And
us.
and even like some people was thinking that maybe that their purpose is got to do with their career, right?
Mm.
But that doesn't have to be, isn't it? Your
No.
career may be just, for some people your career may be just your means to earn a living, and yet you still have your purpose. What are some of, okay, the people that I know, they are living on their purpose, so I don't really have an example of
Mhm. I've got a
what's
few more.
the
Yeah, I
difference.
can
Maybe you
clarify.
can you can share, like for example, like for my coach, right? uh One of her purpose is very simple. She said, I want to fit people to be healthy. I want to keep people healthy. So
Mm-hmm.
she loved cooking for people. She loved cooking for her students. And every time when she does her speaking or her training, she will cook for the students as well. And she likes to host people at her place and just cook. So it starts with that very simple purpose and meaning in what she does, right? And then she just tie it into what she does. So whenever she has her event, then she will just cook something healthy for people. So that's something simple. Like for me, I find meaning for me is about helping people to be able to feel just right at home with their authentic best self. Right. So I find that very meaningful because even for me as well, before that I don't feel that I am comfortable with just being myself because I thought that I'm just not good enough. I have a lot of flaws. So I wasn't comfortable with who I am. But eventually, I find home with myself. I find home being able to embrace myself, knowing that I'm perfect in all of my imperfections. And with that, it becomes something that I can contribute out. That by helping people to also be able to find their authentic best self and be comfortable with themselves, that helps me to extend my work as well. Yeah. So
Beautifully put.
maybe you can give an example like for people who uh, is doing a work that is not their purpose but still able to do something else outside.
Mhm. Mhm. You mentioned a couple of things that I loved, and hopefully that ties in with your question. And, you know, sometimes, we don't know yet what our purpose is, but the challenge that we go through, exactly as you mentioned, not being able to feel at home with myself before was the starting point for a journey that enable you to find the answer. And that became a reason to share that wisdom with others. And that has become your work, right? So that
Right.
was a spark. That was, it was necessary for you to go through that adversity, that challenge, to be able to come closer to your purpose. And then what happens is that your gifts, right? Being a life coach, being able to be a businesswoman, to be successful corporate, employee as well. All of that gave you all the context and the gifts you needed in order to be able to help others who are going through a similar situation. So
Right.
what tends to happen is that our purpose doesn't necessarily, and that answers both questions, our purpose is not the one and only thing that God has given us, and it's unchangeable, inevitable, and this and that. I mean, it's a nice narrative to have, but it's not the case. Our purpose reveals itself slowly in front of us so that we can consume it and walk the path in a way that we have to recognize it. And the way to recognize it and pay attention is when we go through difficulty, when we go through adversity, when we are challenged. We have to stop and say, ooh, I don't know how to solve that. That's difficult now. I'm challenged here. I don't want to go through that. I'm resisting this. And that's our biggest growth, right? And you know that as a coach. I know that as a coach. But nowadays I can talk myself into going through something difficult, whereas before I was like, no, turn around, this is hard, I'm going back home to whatever I knew. And then obviously whatever I knew doesn't make me happy either. So what I know and what you know and what our purpose seekers out there need to know is that if you're challenged about purpose, then you have to follow the path that's challenging you most. And that's because purpose is not going to be the one thing that God has given to you and then you will know it and you will have an epiphany. It will reveal itself through going through the challenges. And there's stages to it. There's going to be more. So, for example, for me, I realized that my challenge was to find purpose. And guess what? I needed to give back. Once I found my purpose, which is democratizing human flourishing, which is helping people find purpose, I needed to give back. So that became my purpose. But now I'm realizing that there's more to this journey because through my work, I realize more about the pain of others and I am able to empathize with where they are. And now prayer has come into that journey. I didn't know that, but it's part of that and it's a gift. So the journey will evolve, but it will reveal itself as we go along. And it's a lifetime journey. So it's not like, oh, I found my purpose, I'm done now. See you later. It doesn't work like that. So that's another misconception that ties in with what you explained, right?
Right,
Um,
right,
and there's one more major misconception, if I may, which is, and confusion, is that people confuse their purpose with their passion. They're two different things. And I'll explain how. Passion is what fuels us, and it's part of purpose, but it's not the purpose. So passion can lead us to our purpose, but it's not the purpose itself. Because purpose is much wider, and it has the element of contribution as well. There's an element of growth. We're scared of our purpose because it's huge. Huge, not in terms of how many people it will touch and whether we're going to become Steve Jobs or not in that way. It's big for us. It's a challenge for us. It may just impact just our family. It may just change our life, but it feels huge. It's scary. But passion is our way, right, to be able to go through it. So it's something that lights us up. It tells us that, look, you've got me. Passion is like, look, you're passionate about this. How about you use me to be able to overcome the challenge in front of you? So think of purpose as a direction that you have to walk. You don't know the destination. It's not a destination. This is a goal. It's a milestone along the way. But purpose is a lifetime direction. You start walking towards where it guides you. But passion is what will actually give pleasure along the way, but also will help you go through the difficult times of your purpose, because purpose is meant to be difficult. Meaning will help you grow in ways that you never expected you will grow. Like for me, it was running my own business. I mean, I didn't know how to run my own business. I didn't know how to get clients. I have no idea about how to sell, probably to this date, but still is a challenge for me, right? My purpose
yeah,
enabled me to overcome things that I was thinking was incapable of. But my passions to share, to teach, to have strategic vision, but also to be able to connect with others, have helped me make it through. So I hope that that helps with some of the common misconceptions and
right.
myths on
And
purpose.
and and yes, what I hear from you is that to be able to have purpose and meaning in our work, in our life, it's not easy. It takes sacrifices. There is a lot of effort that we need to put in, and there's a lot of learnings, learning through our life experiences, learning through our challenges, and looking back, that becomes our purpose, isn't it? And but then I'm sure there is huge fulfillment that
Mm,
comes from being able to be on purpose and having meaning in our life, right? And
totally.
that
Ah,
brought us to discussion: what is fulfillment?
it's worth having purpose, guys and ladies. Look, fulfillment is a misunderstood concept. And it's interesting you mention it, and perfect timing, Rainy, as usual, because fulfillment is not job satisfaction. And I'll clarify what I mean. Job satisfaction is, it comes from getting a compliment. Yeah, you've done a great presentation, great deal stricken there with a new client. Well done for bringing clients on board. Or, it's a tick. Job satisfaction is a tick. And it might help if we say that job satisfaction is a static thing in time that goes away very quickly. You achieve a goal, you get job satisfaction. You achieve another goal, you get job satisfaction. But it goes away. The moment that thing is irrelevant in time, it's not there anymore. So we lose it. It's very elusive. Um, and, a lot of people come to me saying, oh, yeah, I'm looking for job satisfaction. I'm like, well, you probably already have it, and it's in the past. And you're going to get it probably in the next few minutes, maybe in the next few days, and then it will go away again, right? It keeps going away. It's elusive. You can't grab it because it's irrelevant. It's very simple. Job satisfaction is irrelevant. Now, becomes irrelevant very quickly. Fulfillment is a different feeling if we're looking for a feeling. Fulfillment is an ongoing sense of progress. It's the way we make sense of our meaning and our progress. So there's a lot of narrative now about what happiness is, and a lot of people associate it to progress. I think it's different, because happiness is something that is external. It happens, as the word suggests, and it's external, but can give us a positive feeling inside. No, fulfillment is not happiness. Fulfillment is something that we feel from internal progress towards a direction that we have chosen and that is meaningful to us. So that's why there's so much confusion around fulfillment, and it's so elusive for the wrong reasons, but it's actually the most available thing we can have. Because no matter what's happening, whether the Excel spreadsheet or the presentation crashed during a customer thing, okay, that was a temporary success or failure. But fulfillment is a feeling that comes from learning, from progressing, from knowing that I'm doing this and it's meaningful to me. It doesn't have to be to my manager. It doesn't have to be liked by my mother. It doesn't have to be liked by my husband. It doesn't have to mean anything to anybody else. But I know that this was useful for me and I made progress. I grow through this. And that's an entirely different feeling, and it's unaffected by what's going on outside. Yes, you're going to have your ups and downs with whatever happens outside. Yes. But fulfillment is untouchable from all of this stuff. It's a separate thing. It's an entirely homegrown
It's
belonging
it's
to what
interesting.
you do.
I always feel that fulfillment is the same as satisfaction. And
No,
now
it's not.
you're actually telling us that it's
No.
two different things. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Then today you're going to share with us a new terms, right? I'm always curious because I know that your company name is also eudaimonia, right?
Yes.
So apparently there's a deeper meaning to this. Maybe you can share with us, yeah, what has eudaimonia has to do with purpose and what it is.
Yes. So eudaimonia is a Greek word for those who are wondering what the heck this is.
Right.
It's a philosophical term. A lot of philosophers, Greeks, ancient Greeks, and Germans down the line as well, have philosophically entertained the concept. And when, of course, I lost my purpose, I started searching, because I was like, I can't be the only person in the world who's going through this. So the natural researcher and consultant in me, I was like, I'm going to find a solution. So anyway, so I started reading a lot. And that word came up for me because obviously I'm Greek and half Japanese, but it really resonated because it talks about well-being. So the ancient Greeks didn't think happiness was important. What they actually felt and wished other people, so it's a wish as well as a concept of well-being, it's balance. We call it balance in English terms, but eudaimonia means being in good terms with your demons, and demons meaning spirit. So the ancient Greeks, like the Chinese and the Japanese and all of the Oriental culture, understood that life is about yin and yang, the dark and the light, right? The shadow and the light. And they
Right.
understood that a good life is really a good balance of the two, because you can't avoid one or the other. The whole is the whole, right? Uh, Everything needs to be in balance. It's not about having only the good and not the bad. And for some
Because
reason, the
without the bad, we can't recognize the good, isn't it? So if all your
absolutely.
life is always good, then you have no different. You just can't
But
tell.
exactly, we spend so much time complaining about what's not going well in our life instead of just saying, "Oh well, you know, it's part of it." And look at how many good things I have at the same time. And it's about eudaimonia is really about that well-being concept, that we need both, and that you can't really have one without the other. And the Western narrative, at least that has damaged me personally severely and got me to my knees in my career, was that I thought I should have only successes and failures are not part of the game. Little things like that. And then the concept of eudaimonia reminded me that hey, what are you talking about, Christina? Why failure is not part of the game? Why, you feel that you have to be successful? According to whom? According to what? And all of that really helped me be more compassionate with myself and my new beginning, because I had to start a business that took some time to be cash positive. I had to do double work, right? I had to consult and do contracting in the meanwhile to make it come around, and that was okay. But I, at the time, if I was not careful, I would see it as a failure. I suddenly wanted, from starting from scratch, my first business and be successful coach. I mean, how on earth would I ever do that?
Because the part of you being
Right?
that someone that has to be always be successful and perfect cannot
Because
accept.
that's all I knew, but then it didn't feel great anyway. So what was I
Right,
looking for?
right.
Confusion.
And
Whereas
and and
eudaimonia has given me permission to be imperfect, exactly what you were saying before, right? But that
yeah,
was okay. That was exactly what I needed to do, because purpose is not about looking good. Purpose is about feeling fulfillment, feeling full, that I know that this is the right path for me, rather than some external, flashy, shiny success window that I need to show somebody else. And that's why nowadays I don't even pretend, hello, Sao Young. I don't even pretend that, things are going perfectly. I always say I'm running 5 businesses and I ran them really badly, actually. I mean, I would cringe, my previous self would cringe at how I'm running those businesses. But people don't mind because I'm authentic. I'm not pretending to be somebody else. I'm like, I'm only one person dividing my attention to 5 different things. And guess what? I'm going to take 3 days to respond to emails. I'm going to take, a week to be able to put something together. But people don't mind because I'm
yeah.
truthful.
So a
And
lot
you
of time is because we are the one that setting that rules, that very
Mm,
harsh rules, that, that
yeah,
is totally not compassionate at all. And we have been so
mhm,
compassionate with other people, but we are not doing that to ourselves because we just
exactly.
can't accept any delays. It
Mhm.
has to be an instant success. Get it right the first time. There's no failure, no mistakes. And yeah, I
Yeah,
think I had that at the beginning of my journey as well. And then after that, I just learned my lesson. It's like, okay, fine. And my coach always tell me this, in business, right? You won't know what's right until you test it out, until you put it out in the market.
yeah,
So being willing to accept so-called failures or mistakes is part of the game. So if you're not willing to accept that, then you're out of the game.
eh, immediately, in fact.
Immediately. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Eudaimonia is around for about, how many years? 7 years now.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
we've had lots of failures along the way. Like some of them we think, "Phew, why we didn't think about it before? I mean, it was obvious it was going to fail. And then we're like, but we had to learn the lesson. We had to go through it.
Well,
And
we need to find what's not right before we can find what's right, isn't it?
exactly. And eudaimonia gives us permission to not have to be perfect, to not have to be successful, to not have to be, but actually be in a balance of dealing with what's not necessarily ideal and compensating for it with our strengths. So weaknesses with strengths. And now I know, for example, that I've got certain weaknesses, which are very obvious. Do I like them? Probably not, but now I'm friends with them. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really bad at this. And then team knows. So the team now, my little team, is like, oh yeah, Christina is really, really bad at this. So let's help her. And this has become part of the game. And it's such a wonderful thing because I allowed myself to be so-called naked in the process and be seen and be truthful with what I'm not good at rather than pretending, which was the previous game rule, right? In corporate, you have to be seen as being perfect at everything, and then you never admit. Whereas now I'm like, please help me with this. And then the team is like, oh, our boss is so bad at this, ha ha ha. And they just happily go and do that. And I give them credit for it because it's their work. And it's beautiful to be able to
Right.
be in such a place of truthfulness and
Right.
authenticity. And this is the well being we need. We don't
Right.
need to be perfect at everything. We can lead from being really bad at certain things,
Right.
but be honest about them.
Right. But you know what? I think there is kind of like a difference. Like, tell me about it. So at work, right, when we're working for people, I think or an organization, I think we are expected to be good at everything. See, so if you're not good
Of course, I'm
at
rolling my
something,
eyes now because that was who I was before as well.
right? So if you're not good at something, you can be perceived as not a very good employee, right? So I think it is also the society and the organizational culture that kind of like
Mm,
expect us to be like that. So it's shaping us to be like that. But then now that you're like for us, we have our own business, right? Then we realize that yeah, there's no way we can be everything like marketing, video editing, what else, logistic, or even finance. There's all sorts of things that we need to learn, isn't it? But the moment we realize that hey, actually we don't have to be that wearing all those hats and it can be subbed out, that give us the freedom. But for those people who are working in the organization, I think it's still difficult to
of
be able to
course.
have this kind of freedom. You get what I mean?
Yes, and that's the reason why. And it's not about purpose. Purpose is not, that's another misconception, perhaps. We have to start our own business. You can still lead with purpose in an organization. And I've got a lot of my purpose seekers who have become purpose leaders. They start leading within an organization in a different way from an authentic place. And that changes the whole dynamic and the culture that they bring in, especially when they're leaders and managers and high up executives in organizations. What happens is the moment that you allow yourself to be seen, you connect, you become magnetic.
Absolutely. Yes.
And there's, call it fulfillment, call it eudaimonia, but when you have clear visibility of your blind spots and you create that conversation with others, then people are willing to help you because they don't see an arrogant prick telling them what to do, expecting them to be all perfect. You start seeing yourself and you start seeing others for their strengths without taking away the esteem and the worth that they still have with all their weaknesses.
Right. And
And
that makes you as a leader seems more approachable as well.
exactly. And
It
you can
opens
overcome
up people to you.
problems. You can overcome problems without hiding behind your finger. I mean, there's nothing
Right.
to hide. People see anyway. So I truly believe that eudaimonia as a concept, as a methodology, because there's a whole methodology and narrative behind it, is no different to what, the Asian and Oriental culture teaches us, at least spiritually and religiously. Whereas I think I struggled to find that narrative in the West, in London, when I was working as a consultant, and that eudaimonia reminded me that actually there was a whole philosophical, and now recent science, psychology and psychiatry have embraced the concept of eudaimonic well-being, because it's a very important concept in the health, mental health, emotional health, and physical health, ultimately, of the workforce. And hence it obviously made it, it was such an impactful discovery for me through my journey of having lost my purpose and finding it, that it was inevitable for me to make it my company's name. But also it's part of the methodology that I use to recreate a narrative that's much more healthy and authentic, because my purpose leaders, when they come out of my coaching, are gonna have to lead the way. And it's a hard way, especially when
Right.
you have to change culture in an
Yeah.
organization that has a very different set of values. And
Right. But the
that's why they
beauty
don't
is
implement
this, right? When we can actually work with the higher level leaders, we don't
them.
just impact one person. In fact, we impact the whole organization that the person is leading. So I think
Yeah.
that's really powerful. And I'm sure a lot of us will be having this question in mind. There's so many paths that we can take in our life, so many options. And sometimes when you are still searching, you just don't know which is the right path for you.
Yeah,
In fact,
totally.
right. So how do we know which is the right path for us, you see?
Excellent question. Thank you. So there's a few very clear signs that I can think of, that hopefully will make sense for people. Um, the first one, as obvious as it may sound, you will stop questioning what your purpose is. Is as obvious. There is a constant narrative when you're like, oh, this has no meaning. Oh, I don't feel right here. The moment you find your purpose, whether it's conscious or unconscious, you'll stop asking that question. So that's a first sign. That's a very obvious sign when you don't have that innate need to say, I'm not fulfilled. I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy. I'm not, my work is, you're starting to express yourself in a way that is authentic. So you
I,
don't question yourself anymore. What's my purpose? Where am I going? Is this the right direction? All of this somehow stops coming up because it's obvious to you, whatever it is, whether you have words for it or not. That question will dissipate.
I think I think the moment that we are able, because sometimes I feel that when we are confused about what's the right path for us, it could also be because there is a lot of fear of, because that path that we have seen in front of us may be something that is new, that we have never walked before, right? So because we
Mhm.
have never walked before, there's a lot of fear, and that fear clouded our judgment that that is actually the right path for us. So I feel that the moment we are able to be able to release the fear, then it will enable us to be able to see clearly whether
Mhm.
or not the path is actually right for us. And for me, it's really about taking the plunge, taking those steps, one step at a time, and then at each step, right, sometimes you'll find that, okay, this particular step, it doesn't feel right. Okay, then take the left turn, right? And then you take the left turn, and then you take a few steps again, and then you feel like, okay, this feels quite right, and then you keep taking again, and then you feel like, okay, this is not quite right, so you keep making adjustment, but
Mhm.
you just have to be always taking the steps that would lead you to the correct path eventually. And it's always the feeling, that feel that it's right, like it feels right, it will get stronger and stronger as you walk the path. that,
Exactly.
that
Will
I think
amplify.
that's
I
what
think you're
works for
spot on.
me.
I think you're spot on. And, that brings me to one of the points that I say right and wrong is irrelevant. Correct and correct is irrelevant in this path because every wrong step has a learning behind it as well. So we never really go wrong. Whatever we make mistakes, wherever there were mistakes, there's something that we learned out of them if we're willing to look. So in this path, you will hopefully learn very quickly that once you're on your purpose path, there's no right or wrong. It is the path, and the path is not linear, so that might be a good way to kind of dissipate the right and wrong. It will have zigzags, it will have ups and downs, a few loops. It's okay because we need to learn what we need to learn. So it's like Mario, Super Mario, you stay at the same stage when you need to learn what you need to learn. If you don't get the right mushroom, then you may need to discover the mushroom, right? So you'll know you're on the purpose path, and then, first of all, the question of am I on the right path becomes a little bit more irrelevant day by day. And then the right and wrong also becomes irrelevant. So hopefully the narrative is like, I feel good. It's scary, as you said, it's fearful. Resistance will come up because, like, I don't know how to start my business, or I don't know how to go and ask, big corporations about this and that and that. But inevitably, you're going to have to do it. And the scarier it is, the right it is. And if it's not the right approach at that time, then you'll know what to do next because information will come back, feedback will come back. So it's not a mistake, it's a
Only
feedback
when you
mechanism.
take actions, because
You
without
need to take
taking the
actions, you need to
action,
knock doors.
you don't get any feedback at all, so you will never know what's right for you until you take the action.
Exactly. And the funny part about, and why I'm saying right and wrong is irrelevant, is because even if it's the wrong thing, technically, right, or it might have not resulted in the right outcome that you were expecting. That's an expectation matter. That's not what was necessary. The good news is that if you feel energy and adrenaline, if you feel like you're living, you're alive, you're on purpose. Because what's exactly Sao Young? Be willing to step forward and learn. Because If it gives you energy, your purpose will give you energy. Whether it's the right thing you're going to end up doing or the wrong thing, it's irrelevant. What matters is it gives you energy, it gives you inspiration, you feel the fear, but there's courage because there's a lot of love and there's a lot of passion. You remember we said a few moments ago that passion will lead you down that road. It it's the fuel, it's the flame that keeps you going. So
And that fulfillment.
that belonging, that sense of belonging, that sense of fulfillment is there. The energy is there. You know you're doing it because there's no other way for you to do it. So that's the difference between feeling that I'm wasting time. It's the same thing as you were saying, same shit, different day. Such a good expression. Um, but there's no wondering anymore. You know it's
Right,
hard, you know it's tough, but it's your path.
right.
No questioning. There's no going back. Oh, I should have done this. It would have been easier, because easier is not what you're looking for. Once you're looking for purpose, easy, you're done with that. You're
I
done with
think
easy.
I
We're
think
not here for easy.
ultimately, right. It's not easy, but ultimately the
It's
fulfillment
inevitable.
that we are going to gain from being able to live on purpose and to have meaning in the things that we do, that is priceless.
Exactly. And through that
Right,
process, you rediscover a self that you never knew you had, a courageous one that doesn't get affected by what happens outside, right? It's not job satisfaction, it's fulfillment. And it's that faith, that unshakable faith and hope, and most importantly, self respect. And whoever has been from the beginning, my wake up call was, are you proud of what you're doing? And there's no doubt in my mind now that I'm proud of what I'm doing. Whereas before, I was extremely ashamed of what I was doing. And I wasn't
right,
killing people or anything, right? But I
right.
knew it was bad karma. It wasn't the right thing for me. Whereas
Because
now
I
there's
guess,
no question.
yeah, because I guess it goes against your value, which is why you keep thinking about the karma. You know what,
Totally.
Christina, this evening has been so enlightening. Thank you so much for sharing with us
Thank
all
you
these
for
things.
inviting me.
And right, and really appreciate having you tonight. And we were just to wrap up our session tonight. What would be the one thing that you really want to emphasize for all of our guests tonight?
Oof, that's the hardest question. I think it's really I think there's a lot of American narrative about, and coaching perhaps narrative about, oh, you have to overwork to make your purpose happen and so on, which may be true. But I think purpose is about respecting yourself deeply. And it's saying no to things that don't align with your values. It's saying yes to things that light you up, give you energy, help you grow. So resistance will come up, but if it's the right path, you know you're going to find the resources to go through it. Not through damaging yourself, which is the narrative that we have learned from being employed, perhaps, or being in corporates and so on. Just be aware that purpose will not damage you. Purpose will actually give you so much fulfillment that it's inevitably the right thing to do for you. So, eudaimonia, the concept of eudaimonia, of being in good spirits, in good balance and in good terms with your demons, with your weaknesses and your strengths, with your good side and your bad side. This is purpose. This is meaning. And we're here to overcome ourselves and show ourselves, what we are capable of doing. And this is a whole process of personal discovery of self-respect that's unshakable from outside events or circumstances. So if that can stay with people from tonight, hello, Carrie. Um, I would like it to be the one thing that stays with people. So honestly, well-being, that balance, that eudaimonia is the only thing you should focus on when you're on your purpose journey, because purpose will make you flourish. Literally, you will be fulfilled. And it's not a one moment thing, it's a constant thing. It's a hard thing, but it's a constant thing. And nobody will be able to take it away from you.
Awesome. Wow. Gosh, that is gold, Christina. Thank you so much for sharing with all of your wisdom tonight. And you know what? So, everyone, remember if you have found meaning and purpose in your life, great. Congratulations. And if you have yet to find it, it's okay. Keep searching because the timetable is different from for everyone. Some people they find it earlier in their life, some people they find it late, but that doesn't mean that you are any worse than anyone else. It's just who you are. You're just different and you're just special. So no matter how tough it is, don't give up. Keep searching, because the end game, that fulfillment, that satisfaction is just gonna be so worthy. And you will, once you found them, you will never want to go back to the kind of life that you have no purpose, no meaning, and you were just going through the motion. So with that, thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and we would love to see you again. Let us know if you have any special topics that you would like us to share at Heart Talk, and we really look forward to see you again next session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Christina.
So much. Bye.
Bye.